book lovers, it's Rebecca and welcome to my channel. Today I am doing the end of the year book tag originally created by Ariel Bissett, which I will link down below. So there are 6 questions all up on this one. I'm wearing my nice cozy Mickey Mouse blanket even though it's pretty warm today, but I thought it would be a good vibe. So question number 1. Are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? I've started recently The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. It's the second in his Mistborn trilogy. It's a pretty long book. I just finished the first book in the trilogy, The Final Empire, and I really enjoyed it, but I felt like I needed a bit of a change of pace instead of just jumping straight. I did start reading The Well of Ascension, but I was having a bit of a hard time staying involved in it. I needed a bit of a change of pace, so I stepped back from it and I started reading another book called My Name Is Not Midnight by J.P. Readman. Also, this wasn't started this year, but last year I did start reading It by Stephen King and I still haven't finished it. It's a very long book and I love the movie. I can't wait for the second half of the story in the movie adaptations, so I would actually like to get around to finishing that at some point as well. Question number 2. Do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? Not really. It's actually spring here in Australia, so transitioning into the end of the year is a transition from spring to summer. And I don't, aside from a few exceptions, I don't tend to read themey books, if that makes sense. I'll just read what I feel like reading at the time. During October, I do read horror almost exclusively. I call it Spooktoberfest. But I don't really have any books that I read seasonally. Question number 3. Is there a new release you're still waiting for? There is, but it isn't actually coming out until May. It's called The Queenslayer by Sebastian de Castell. It is the 5th book in the Spellslinger series, and if you've been here for a while, you know that I absolutely love the Spellslinger series. It's probably, excuse me, my favorite series I've read recently, so I'm really looking forward to that. It comes out in May of 2019, and then the 6th book, which I can't remember the name of, comes out in October, so that'll be the exception to my Spooktoberfest. Question number 4. What are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? Alright, so the first thing I'd like to read before the end of the year, which I'm planning on reading in December, is A Christmas Carol. I have never read A Christmas Carol, I know, but I enjoy the adaptations based off of it. The Muppets one, for example. There's a Donald Duck cartoon, Scrooge McDuck cartoon, sorry, based off of it, where Scrooge McDuck is Scrooge in the story, and I really love that, so I'd like to read it before Christmas. I feel like it'd be a nice Christmassy read. The second book I'd like to read before the end of the year is Trader's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. That is an adult series. It's sort of a swashbuckly Three Musketeers kind of story based off what I've read of the book blurbs and things that the author has actually said, so I'm looking forward to giving that a try because I love Sebastian de Castell and his writing style. And I would also like to finish the book I'm currently reading, which is My Name Is Not Midnight by J.P. Readman. I'm about halfway through now, so this one will actually be quite easy, and maybe I'm cheating on this, but I'm enjoying it so far. I've got a few issues with it, but there have also been a lot of things that I like. I might end up doing a video review for it, either that or you'll see it in my November wrap-up in a few weeks. So question number 5. Is there a book that could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year? I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I'm planning on reading this year that might do that. I think it's going to be really hard to top Charmcaster by Sebastian de Castell, which is the 3rd book in the Spellslinger series. It came out in May this year, and I absolutely loved the story. The setting was really interesting and expanded some of Kellen's world a little bit more. I enjoyed Various and learning a bit more about her backstory, and I think that's just going to be really hard to top for me. That is still my favourite read of 2018. And the final question, question 6, Have you already started making reading plans for 2019? Nothing overly specific. As I said, I don't tend to read thematically. I just read things that I feel like reading. That's why when I do my TBRs on this channel, I'll end up changing it a lot because I'll sit down and go, well, I don't feel like reading any of these. I'm going to read this instead. But I've got a few plans. For example, I'm planning on finishing the Spellslinger series. As I said, Queenslayer comes out in May, and then the last book in that series comes out in October. So I'm super excited for those. I can't wait to read them. I'm thinking I'm going to put my Goodreads reading challenge at 25 again. I'm nearly there this year, so I feel like this is a good number for me because I don't want to pressure myself too much, but I also want it to be challenging. So 25 seems to be a good number. And I'm also considering doing Manga March, where during the month of March I read nothing but manga. I've got all these shelves behind me are full of manga, and I haven't read any in ages really, except for Yotsuba, so I thought that might be good to sort of get me back into the manga a bit, because I spent a lot of money on it and I would like to be able to read them again. And of course in October I do the Spooktoberfest, which when we get closer maybe I'll make an announcement. You guys can feel free to join me. I know there are other readathons around October. This I didn't base off of anyone else. This is something I just came up with myself last year randomly. I wanted to challenge myself to read nothing but horror novels throughout the month of October, and I really enjoyed it because horror is one of my favorite genres, so I'll be doing it again next year. And that is the end of the year book tag. Thank you for joining me. I'm not going to tag anyone specific. I'm just going to say if you feel like doing this tag, go ahead and do it. That's how I sort of kind of got tagged by Books with Brandie Shanae. You guys know I love her channel, and she also tagged anyone who hadn't done it yet. So I'm going to link to her video down below as well. I think you should watch it because she's wonderful. And I will see you on Monday with my reading vlog.